Welcome back to episode 14 of the Bench Warmers podcast. We are your hosts, Jacob.
Damn.
And Baden.
And today we're going to be going over the NBA trade deadline as well as a little bit of our Super Bowl predictions. So without further ado, Sam, you want to talk about a couple of the trades that happened over the last few days?
Well, actually, I'm gonna hand it over to Baden since
Oh.
I don't have the trades up in front of me.
All
Baden
right,
said he
so,
did,
all right, so I guess I think we should start off with the big one. I think we
Yeah,
just
I agree.
yeah, sure. We'll
obvious.
go from big to small.
James Harden heading to Philadelphia. Him and Paul Millsap are heading to Philly for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, a 2022 first round pick, and a 2027 first round pick with some protections on it that would move those picks a year later. Honestly, for Brooklyn, I feel like this is a good trade, but at the same time, you got to remember what they gave up in the first place for James Harden. They gave up Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, who both ironically just happen to be on the Cavs now, and basically seven first round picks, three actual picks, four pick swaps. So, and I don't know if you that's the same value as what they got just in return for him, which they got better. They obviously got players back for those technically for those picks, but I don't know if it equals out. But I think for what the Sixers needed, their defense has been questionable. It was the thing you questioned about this team once they traded for James Harden. Ben Simmons is a elite defender. No matter what you want to say about his offensive game, he's an elite defender, and I think there's some pros for the Nets in this deal as well. But I think the Sixers overall, I'd say win the deal just because they get the best player, and the main piece that they traded was a player that wasn't even going to play for the team. So I see that as a even bigger W for the Sixers.
Yeah, no, I think what really stings for Brooklyn is that they don't get one of Tyrese Maxey or Matisse Thybulle. I think that those are we were really going for, but obviously, Seth Curry is a pretty good shooter. He replaces what you're missing right now with Joe Harris being out. Uh, Andre Drummond. Oh, see, that was smooth. Andre Drummond is I when he was on the Cavs, it was just a bad fit all the time. I don't. He's a solid backup center, but I don't think you have. I think the Sixers are lacking a little bit of backup center depth. Um, I think that this just like shortens your rotation a lot if you're Philly, and it just makes you a lot deeper of a team if you're Brooklyn. So I'm actually gonna say that Brooklyn wins this deal. I think your locker room's a lot less dysfunctional, even with Kyrie sitting out half of your games, even with Kevin Durant, being out for a couple more weeks. I think that this is a solid. This is, I would say, Brooklyn wins the deal. I don't think this is a lose situation for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I would say I agree. I think for Philly, just the big thing. Oh my goodness, Ben. I think
What?
the big thing is that Ben Simmons was probably never going to play for you again, and getting rid of a negative asset is a very important thing. And you could tell that the players weren't too upset. Joel Embiid.
Oh yeah.
I think
And
I think the Sixers those first round picks make it sting a little more. In some ways, you think they way overvalued James Harden. Um, I guess Baden disagrees with me.
Last
I
pick
mean,
of the
like
All Star
honestly,
draft, so
the Sixers, the Sixers are gonna draft in the late 20s. Not maybe not the late 20s, but they're gonna draft in the 20s.
Yeah,
So I don't think you're not expecting a player not even close to James Harden's caliber, not even probably a Ben Simmons' caliber when you get those picks.
I guess.
So I just from the Sixers perspective, I don't value them as much, and that's kind of like the why the Brooklyn Nets traded all those picks to get Harden in the first place.
Yeah.
They knew they were gonna pick late first round, if not as late as you can get, pick 30 if they won the championship. So that's why they were willing to give up all those picks.
Yeah. I mean, I will openly admit I think I overvalue picks because I like
Yeah,
to
you're an
think
NFL guy.
yeah, I
Yeah,
like
I
to think
think
a lot more about potential, and also I try to think about it. I'm used to thinking about it in the NFL sense, where picks are a lot more valuable. But in the NBA, the talent drop off is a lot more steep, and I think that's something that I gotta kind of remember. Two first round picks in the NBA are nowhere near the same thing as, in the NFL that's trading away your future. In the NBA, that's trading away another rotation player.
Yeah.
hmm
So I just think this we've been talking about a lot, or what the league, what everybody has been talking about a lot, is not wasting MVP Ben. Whoa, I almost said MVP Ben Simmons.
Oh, jeez.
MVP Joel Embiid. Um, because this is the best basketball he has ever played, and I think if you keep on surrounding him with nobody, um, you're gonna miss out on. It's what the Lakers are doing with LeBron this year. Um, they did nothing at the trade deadline, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Um, I think that James Harden is a really great fit for Joel Embiid and the 76ers, but I think my final thought on the matter is rest in peace the free throw line, because that thing's going to be stepped on 1,000 times a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is like I saw a stat. Joel Embiid is amongst players who have played a minimum of 300 games in NBA history. Joel Embiid is 11th in points per game all time. Harden is 13th. So you're getting two of the higher scoring players technically ever um, on the basketball court together. I think it's really just a match made in heaven, and you still have Thibault, you still have Maxi, you still have Danny Green, you still have Tobias Harris. I think Philly will have to look into the buyout market, see if they can get a big man and maybe another wing shooter or a backup playmaker. I think those are the things that you're kind of missing on this team, but I do think they're still built to be a team that can go far into the playoffs.
So, do we want to give our trade grades for Philadelphia and Brooklyn?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this for Philly. I'm gonna give this a minus, um, and for Brooklyn, I'm gonna give it a B. I'm just the only thing that I just think about it from Brooklyn's perspective is what you gave up for James Harden and what you got in return for him just a year plus later. It's it doesn't balance out to me.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that take, to be honest. I think that's kind of like I'm a referee. I referee soccer games, and one thing you're never supposed to do is if you make a call and you regret that call, to basically make a payback call. Give the other team a call so that you feel in your mind like you balanced it out. And using that attitude for the James Harden trade, I think is also wrong, because what's done is done. What you gave up is what you gave up. Harden's value has changed since then. There's no denying that. So I think to say that the Nets lose that trade because of what they gave up, well, it is a fair point. They did give up a lot more than they got. I think that's not really how you should evaluate trades. But that's just my 2 cents.
So, grades for it then?
I'm gonna give the Nets a B plus, and I'm gonna give the Sixers. I'm gonna give the Sixers a B, just because I think, they gave up quite a bit, but now they're poised to make a deep playoff run, which they probably weren't before.
That's fair enough.
I think the Sixers have. Oh yeah, you go for it.
Sorry, Jacob. I have to talk too. Um, so that was actually a rare Jacob W. I'm gonna have to agree
Oh
with that.
wow,
I think
rare.
Whoa,
Okay.
whoa.
No,
Rare.
I'm gonna go with a B plus for both sides. I think this was just like a solid deal all around. I think it's a win-win situation. Obviously, you lose some depth here, you lose value there, but I think overall balances out. B plus for both sides.
Alrighty, so I think that's a good way to move on to the second trade, and probably the most questionable trade of the trade deadline:
A lot of
the
them, to be
Kings
honest.
and the Pacers.
Oh no!
Man,
This I'm very confused. I'm trying to pull up where is it specifically. I don't.
shout out to all the Kings fans if there's any who listen to the pod.
Yeah,
We
Kings
we feel
fans,
for your
man.
guys as Browns fans. We feel for you.
All right, so here's the trade. Man, the Kings received DeMontis Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and a 2023 second round pick. The Pacers receive Buddy Hield, Tristan Thompson, and Tyrese Halliburton. I want to hear you guys' opinion on this first. I'm
I'm gonna
pretty.
I'm gonna take the reins on this because I'm such a big Tyrese Halliburton fan. This was awful. I mean, there's no other way to put this, but this was such an awful trade for the Kings. You have three guards that you've drafted in the lottery over the past like 5 or so years. You chose the one had the highest potential to trade away. You chose to keep De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell over Tyrese Halliburton, who, let me remind you, 5 games ago, dropped 38-7 with 3 steals on 5 of 9 shooting from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
The 76ers. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I think that this just proves that the Kings do not have a mentality to really go all the way. They are satisfied with being a play-in team because, to be fair, did get the best player in the trade, DeMontis Sabonis.
That is true.
They might benefit the most in the short term. But long term, I think it's awful. You might have gotten off of the Buddy Hield contract, but this does you no favors, if that makes sense. It's just not good. For the
They
Pacers,
look.
awesome. But continue, Baden. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the Kings looked at this too short term. I think they said they looked at it and said, we can get DeMontis Sabonis, who is, let's be fair, he's the best player in this deal.
Yeah.
DeMontis Sabonis is the best player in this deal at the moment. That's the thing. So when you, I don't think he raises your ceiling right now by a little bit, and which may be a 10 seed, a 9 seed at best. And after that, it's like, where are you going? Because now you're picking 12th, 13th, 14th in the lottery. You're unless and clearly Sacramento can't develop talent. It's like I'm so confused. Why I would have rather traded De'Aaron Fox.
Oh
Like
yeah,
let's
absolutely.
like Tyrese Halliburton to me is like when you have a franchise. I mean technically they kind of had two franchise point guards in a sense because I think De'Aaron Fox is a franchise point guard, but I think Halliburton had the higher potential. I think he can do more of what you want when it comes to. He's a. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is just a minus when it comes to shooting. Halliburton's a great shooter. You know, obviously he has that whack jump shot, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Um, it's really questioning my mind, and I think for the Pacer side, when you have a franchise point guard you can build around, I mean, it just makes things a lot easier when it comes to rebuilds. I think the rebuild I think is going to start off very well. I think they're going to be in the range where they can still they'll probably still lose a lot of games, but it's going to be they lose a lot of close games. So you know they're not that far away, although the record might say that they are.
I'm thinking of it like I want to say not the Detroit Lions. It does feel a little bit maybe like the Cavs last year, where like we were bad, right? But there were sparks. We were
Mm.
running. Who's on our lineup? Who? Damian Dotson. I mean, that was awful. But I feel like there were some bright spots, and I think Malcolm Brogdon and Tyrese Halliburton with Chris Duarte coming off the bench. I think it's a really solid like to build off of. And Miles Turner is supposedly, although very down bad, is very excited to play with Tyrese.
Yeah, uh, um, I think Miles Turner is the biggest winner of this trade because I think he finally is able to show off his full like skill set. Because maybe I think there's a chance he can truly do more in this offense without Sabonis being like someone who takes away from him. Because Sabonis, um, it's kind of weird to say it for a big, but Sabonis is a ball dominant player. Like when Sabonis doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's not crazy impactful. Because it's not like he's a high level defender or he's doing things away from the ball that makes him so great. So, but Miles Turner has already proven he can be a great player without the ball. He doesn't have the ball a whole lot, and he's still one of the best defensive players. Um, so I think his offensive game is gonna grow a lot with this deal.
Did you guys see that TikTok of him where he replied? So he replied to a girl's TikTok, and she was like, "Get traded to the Lakers, and I'll go out on a date with you." Um, nobody.
I
I
don't
think
think
I
I
saw
did.
that. I think I saw that.
So then she was like, "Go for 20,000 likes," and he hit that like goal. He,
Then there was also had a Twitter. So he had a Twitter debate with this one this like one like up and coming Detroit rapper. His name is Babytron. Um,
yeah,
and Babytron said like he said Miles Turner, can you be an all star for once or something? And like Miles Turner said um, like they put in $100,000 bet either Miles Turner whoever whatever happens first either Babytron gets a top 10 song on the Billboard, which is absurd, or Miles Turner becomes an all star. More
yeah,
than likely, Miles Turner is gonna win that. But hey, hey, Baby Tron could drop a banger here soon, and he might blow up.
guarantee it. I would put 100,000. I don't. I have like. I have $5. I'd put 100,000. Mark my words. We'll clip it right here. Miles Turner will never be an All Star in his career.
Whoa, I can see it. I'm not gonna lie, I can see. I feel like he's gonna be one of those borderline guys for his entire career.
Of like, I don't know. Boris Diaw never made an All Star game. Boris Diaw, Richard Jefferson never made an All Star game.
Mm.
Who's a really good big to like ever had made an All Star game? Jared Allen. So
Jared Allen.
you discount Jared Allen. What can I say? So
Jacob, your thoughts? Because we haven't gotten to you.
Yeah. Okay. So I really like this for the Pacers. Right. I'm not even gonna get into the Kings side of it yet, but I really like this for the Pacers. The Pacers, they wanted to rebuild, and I think they did it. I think they executed it pretty well. I don't think they went into that thinking they were coming out with Halliburton. I think they went into it thinking De'Aaron Fox. But to come out with Halliburton, that makes it an A for me on the Pacers side. Plus, Buddy Hield is a solid player. I thought maybe they would trade him, but they kept him, and is gonna have that team has a good future. That rebuild was pretty well done, and it helped both sides in the Cavs Pacers deal, the Karis LeVert trade. Pacers get some future. Cavs get. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Kings side. Okay. I'm a big Sabonis fan. I really like Sabonis. I think he's a very good player. I think he's the best player in that deal. But Sabonis does not carry that deal enough to where you can say the Kings, where you can even make a case that the Kings won it. It's not. Last night, Sabonis' performance made everyone kind of say, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as we thought. And it isn't. It goes from like a D to a C, I think. I would give the Kings a C based on the performance of Sabonis and Lamb and the other guy, forgetting his name, last night. Which cost me my $2.40 parlay, by the way. Thanks a lot, Timberwolves.
All right. I guess I'll give my grade for this. I'll say this is an A minus for the Pacers, and this is like a D plus for the Kings.
Yeah, I'm straight on with those grades. A minus for the Pacers, D plus for the Kings.
I just think D plus is too harsh.
I mean, it's one game though.
I know,
Like it's one.
but
I just think
how else can you? If a player has only played one game with that team, that's the only thing you can use to evaluate. You know,
fair.
it's not like
Sure.
it's not like he had a rough start and then finally broke out. Like game one, immediately showing chemistry, led them in rebounds, and he might have led them in rebounds and assists. I'm not sure, and dropped like 20 something points. Yeah, Sabonis had a really good game, and he also seems like noticeably happier, which is weird because I don't know why anyone would be happy about being traded to the Kings.
He was in Indiana.
Yeah,
It was in Indianapolis.
That's true.
So it's not much to do there. Not much to do in Sacramento, probably either. I love how we
He's
say
in
that. Like,
California.
I mean, yeah. I love how we say that, or I say that as if we don't live in Cleveland. But
You know, we're
anyways,
in Ohio. We're suffering We're suffering the
speaking of Cleveland, they made a deal.
Oh, the segue. Oh, that was
Where they made a deal that kind of everyone thought was gonna happen for a while. It's been rumored for a while, and it finally happened. Karis LeVert for I believe it was I don't have it specifically had it in front of me, but I believe it's Ricky Rubio, a first round pick protected, and 2 seconds.
it might just be 1 second. Yeah, I
I think
think
it's 2 seconds.
Oh, it
It
is.
was
I
like
believe it's
2027 or something.
Oh, okay.
Like a Utah pick. And then we also got a second back from
yeah.
Miami this year.
I actually like this deal for both teams. I saw a lot of Pacers fans saying like, they were like kind of um, like think they got robbed or something. I don't think they got robbed, especially because one of the second round picks is a Houston second round pick this year. That pick will be in the high 30s. That's going to be a pick 32, 33, 34. So when you think about it like that, that's just outside a first round pick, and you could easily use that pick
Oh shit!
to move back up into the first round.
Sorry, I just
But,
knocked over my mic.
But I think the Pacers got just. I think it's really just assets and salary cap that you really got out of that deal. And for the Cavs, they get the perimeter scoring that they desperately need. Outside of Darius Garland and obviously with no Colin Sexton, look at any of the other players under the height of 6'7". They're not scorers.
Yeah.
And even when you look at everyone above 6'7", like no, you don't look at anybody. You don't look at anyone and say their best asset is their ability to score the football. Or I was gonna say
Score the football.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Betty Osmond, he is
Is he
only
six-
good
is
for
he-
3-pointers.
Is he 6'8"?
Is 6'8".
He's 6'8". So I guess Osmond, but it's not like he's not like a high level scorer. Karis LeVert at any moment. It's not slander. It's just the facts. Karis LeVert at any moment can give you 30.
Yeah.
It's just he's that type of player, kind of like Colin Sexton. So yeah, I like the deal for the Cavs.
Oh
Wait,
man.
man, Jacob, you're struggling, bro. You're struggling. But I'll wait and give my grades once you guys say your opinion.
Sam, you want to go or should I?
I'll go. I think his impact was immediately felt last night. He had something like 11 points on like 3 for 8 shooting in our win over the hold on, I forgot where they were for a second. The San Antonio Spurs. So obviously that isn't an incredible stat line, right? But you watch the game. Oh my God, there's like a palpable difference between us with him and us without him. Before, we're running all of the offense through Darius, and he's playing an insane amount of minutes. With Karis, there's so much more spacing. We can run the offense through him. Him and Jared Allen have some great chemistry going already. I think it's just an incredible trade.
Ben, are you okay?
Yeah, fine. There's something on my screen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good. And for the Pacers side of it, I mean, Ricky Rubio is just going to come back to the Cavs next year. I think I've accepted that. I'm very happy about it. That first round pick, I think this is like an expert sort of retool for them. They weren't going to get Sexton in this trade.
Oh my goodness, dude.
I think it's just very good. Very good.
Real quick. I just want to say something. I think Levert as a combo guard, I think is perfect around next to Garland because again, he doesn't have to. Garland doesn't have to take all the responsibilities of running the offense. Kind of the same way Sexton and Garland worked earlier in the year. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
All right.
Nick?
Darius, do you have any
Yes.
thoughts
Okay.
on this?
So immediately, Levert made his Cavs debut last night, and I want to look. First of all, his stat line wasn't that impressive. I mean, he made some nice shots. He was like 4 for 11, but there are two things I want to focus on mostly. Number one, his ability to create shots is something that no Cav has done this year since Sexton got hurt. Like just his ability to create those shots, even if he's not knocking them down yet, that will come. But no one else is even creating that opportunity yet. And then the second thing is, what opportunities did he open for his teammates? Darius Garland had one of the best performances of his career. He shot 12 for 15, which is like 80%, which is ridiculous, including 3 of 3 from 3-point. Garland had like the most efficient night of his career, and it Levert really took the pressure off of him. Having the second guard, I mean, makes this offense look even stronger than it already is. So
So I guess
and on the
I'll
Pacer
give
side of it,
sorry.
they don't really get any immediate value, so it's hard to say. They don't, they're not getting a player who is playing for them this season. But just because of the picks they got, I assume Rubio will never play for them. Because of the picks, I'm going to give them a B. I think it's just another step in the rebuild.
Yeah. So I guess for grades, I'm gonna give the Cavs. I'm gonna give them an A. I mean, for an injured player, basically, I mean, technically, you can honestly say two first, uh, and a second. Like, Karis LeVert is about as good as it's gonna get for that type of value. Um, and then for the Pacers, I'm gonna give them a B minus because I like it. Again, no immediate value, but at the same time, they're not looking for immediate value. They're looking for the long term.
Yeah.
Give this an A from the Cavs side as well. Silbert had a +8 last night, which was second highest coming off the bench. I like that role for him. We can keep a core out there. He can defend. And for the Pacers, I'll give him a B. I think that that's a good return for Levert. Um, I mean, just a solid deal. Great for the Cavs.
Alrighty, so we did back to back Pacers trades. So I kind of want to do the back to back Portland trades now,
Yeah.
and the way Portland is moving forward with their franchise. This is easily what the most interested to me. Like I think I'm very interested in terms of like the long term of this deal and how Portland wants to build their franchise. Let me pull. I mean, I just had it with me. All
Like
right,
8 guards on their roster
here's
right now.
the first trade that happened. It was really the first trade of this trade deadline season. Norman Powell, Robert Covington to the Clippers for Eric Bledsoe, Keon Johnson, Justice Winslow, and a second round pick. Um, Honestly, this isn't that bad of a return for for the uh, for the Blazers. Keon Johnson's basically the first round pick that you would have hoped to get, but he just got drafted this past year. Barely really played for the Clippers. Um, Bledsoe, Winslow, kind of uh, salary fillers, really. Um,
Both of them.
it's not an awful return, but I felt like they could have done a little bit better. I think you're trading to a team like the Clippers. Their future is compromised because of that Paul George deal. So it's not like you're going to get a lot of future assets, but um, I mean, it's okay, I guess. And on the Clipper side, I love it. I mean, you're trying to win now, and you get two wing players that immediately help this team, and their chances of in the playoffs, especially with no Kawhi. I think especially when Kawhi comes back and you have these guys still, I think that's going to be pretty dangerous.
I mean, dude, Norman Powell is such a great addition for this Clippers team, and I think sure the Trailblazers, don't forget, traded for him using Gary Trent Jr., who was 23 years old. And this is just an absolutely awful return, no matter what the end implications of it are. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible. I mean, I have no words. Just awful. Jacob, you got anything to say, or are we just gonna leave it at awful, awful?
I mean, that's basically my thoughts. I think it's, I don't know, man. I don't really know. I mean, there's not much to say. It's just, man.
Dame, you can run from the grind.
Please,
Okay.
yeah, you've proved enough. You're already a top 5 player all time who's never won a ring.
Oh, okay. I don't want to go that far.
What you think
I'm
he
not gonna
isn't?
I'm not gonna think about that right now.
Okay.
But my grades, I'm gonna give it an A minus for the Clippers. And then I'm gonna give a C minus to the Blazers on this deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this an A for the Clippers and an F for the Blazers. This is the worst trade you could have made. This is awful. No holds barred. This was awful.
I'm not gonna go that extreme. I'm gonna give this like a C minus for the
Uh,
Blazers,
F is pushing it. F is very much pushing it.
and I'm gonna give it like a B for the Clippers. There's no like huge impact player. Like Powell and Covington are good, but this is not gonna change someone's season. That's my
Forgot
reasoning.
that Robert Covington was in there. That makes it even worse. What's a lower letter grade than an F? If we're grading it on like percentage points, this is like a 20%. You are flunking the class. Fire your GM.
Well,
I don't know if you
I don't
guys
think they
are
wa-
paying any attention to this.
based off the next trade, I don't. It's not. I wouldn't fire him because I like this deal for both teams. The Blazers traded C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., Tony Snell to the Pelicans, and then they got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Didi Luwazda, some random,
Sod, I think.
and first, two firsts, and 2 seconds. I like this deal a lot for both teams. Um, I think the Pelicans, though, none of this matters if Zion is not playing. Nothing they do, none of the trades that they've ever done will matter if Zion Williamson is not on the court healthy. So I think the biggest thing they need to do is get him back in shape, get him back to him, playing high level basketball. Um, as some breaking news came, but I feel like there's I feel like CJ McCollum does complement a guy like Zion in terms of another scorer, floor spacer around him, and then they get a defensive minded player and Cavaliers legend, Larry Nance Jr. And they get an overall NBA legend in Tony Snell, only player to shoot 50% from the field, 50% from three, 100% from the free throw line in the season. So
Has not missed a free throw in 3 seasons. You can fact check
that's
me, but I think
that's
he's
absurd.
right.
That's absurd.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
And then for the Blazer side specifically, they get a bunch. They get a couple of picks, which I like. They get 2 young guards that I think. You're not building around these guys, uh, but they're definitely impactful pieces. And you free up a bunch of cap space. That's what they're kind of doing, but that's something I'm gonna go in depth a little bit later about. is, you know, why specifically.
Oh,
Whoa,
whoa.
my lights just fell.
Aiden
Um,
is now seeing pitch black.
I'm in the dark right now. I gotta change that real quick. But yeah, someone else take it. I fix this.
Okay, so I think that this was a little bit of a better.
Jesus Christ.
I think this is a little bit of a better deal for the Pelicans, but or the Blazers because two first rounders and two second rounders is pretty good. But I think that this just clogs up your guard situation unbelievably. Even though they traded away Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who is like the highlight of that trade. I do not want anybody else from that trade but Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And then they just traded him away. So honestly, at this point, just let Dame walk. Trade him in the offseason. This just proves that you are not ready to build a team around him and you're not ready to contend him. And I think it's just kind of disrespectful to a guy who's like in his prime. Jacob?
Sure. So, I don't know. We like to talk a lot about how Dame doesn't run from the grind. But you know who really struggles with Dame's injury? CJ McCollum. We needed to free CJ. That's the truth.
CJ wants to run from the grind.
You need to free CJ. Because,
He does not want guys.
I mean, the Blazers have no future. That's the truth. It's not like, they're not like the Pacers who traded away good players and, like, started the rebuild off strong. This is a rebuild started off very poorly. And I think they don't really want to admit they're in a full rebuild because they're still trying to keep Dame.
I just I don't call it a I think it's a retool. That's what it is because I wanted to go
That's
into
what
this.
that's what they want you to think.
The Blazers. So reportedly, Blazers are saying, "Hey, Dame's out for the year. We're tanking this season. This season is tanked. Try to get as high pick as we can." That makes sense. This off season, we build around Damian Lillard again, but I just don't know how. Is because what big time player are you really gonna go out and get? You're not gonna get a player from free agency. No one's trying to come to Portland. Um, so
Like slander is unreal.
I mean, it's just the facts. If you're not L.A., Chicago, New York, Miami, maybe even Philly, I mean, it's most teams. Most teams have to deal with the fact that you're not going to get big time free agents to your team just because of where you are. Um, so now you're saying we got to trade for these guys, which they at this point they have the assets to do so. It's just who specifically, because you can't get another guard to pair alongside Damian Lillard. You just saw how that worked. They didn't get you. It didn't win you anything. Um, so who are you really looking for? How are you gonna build around Damian Lillard? Are you gonna say like we want him to like you're gonna get like defensive guys around him, or are you trying to make this team an offensive juggernaut? It's gonna be interesting. Um, it's a weird way because I don't think you can really reach. It's gonna be I'm never the team's never really retooled like this before, where it looks like they're rebuilding, but they're actually not. It was already a team that was really good, and they just made tweaks. But I don't know. We'll see.
So let's just give our grades real quick, and then I think there might be one or two more trades that I'm like missing out on, but I think that we should try and like speed run the next couple.
Okay.
So I'll give my grade for this trade. I think this is a B plus for the Pelicans, and you know what? I'll be generous. I think this is like a C plus for the Blazers.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say uh, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say a B for Pelicans. But this is a D if Zion does because like I just said, nothing matters if Zion's not on the court. It's a D if they can't get Zion ready for next season. Um, and then I'm honestly if the Blazers go into rebuild mode, true rebuild mode, as in they at the offseason they traded Damian Lillard. I give this deal a B. If they but if they don't and they try to do this weird retooling, I'm gonna give it a C plus.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. If the Blazers go into full rebuild, you know, they go into full rebuild, and you kind of can't.
It's our hard, Jake. It's okay.
Um, I don't. Right now, as of right now, I'm gonna give the Blazers like a C. I think they got a decent return. That's why I would say that. And for the Pelicans, I'd give a B. Yeah, just like a solid B, I think. But it's pretty much dependent on Zion.
Real quick. NFL breaking news: T.J. Watt just named Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh,
Really, no surprise here.
Yeah.
He tied the sack record and didn't even play all 17 games. He played 15 games. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, TJ deserved it.
congrats.
And then Tom Brady and JT won the FedEx Air Player of the Year and Ground Player of the Year.
It's so stupid. Why is that even a thing? Um, whatever. I think
Um,
that makes me happy. I never want to see him on the field again.
so really, almost most of the other trades were a bit smaller. I guess we can look at that 4 team deal
I think
that
we can
happened.
drop the 4-team deal and then we'll move on to our bench warmers.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of these other deals are just smaller, like the Bobo trade, Montrezl Harrell to the Hornets. Uh, what? Derek White for Josh Richards.
Porzingis got traded to the Wizards.
Porzingis, I do. I guess we can talk about that. I think we'll end it off on the Porzingis trade. But here is the entire 4 team deal. The Kings, Bucks, Clippers, and Pistons all were in this deal. The Pistons got probably, I guess, the most valuable piece in this deal, if you want to say so, and Marvin Bagley. The Clippers got Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye. The Bucks got uh, Serge Ibaka, 2 future second round picks, and cash considerations. And the Kings got Dante DiVincenzo, Trey Lyles, and Josh Jackson.
I think the only team that like comes out of this any different is the Kings. Like this is just a double like Cade to Marvin Bagley connection is going to be special, maybe. Um, I mean Marvin Bagley is probably an all-time draft bust. No hate, but he was picked in between. He was picked right before
He is.
Luka. I mean, there's
Like,
like no way you're coming back from that.
you look at like the top 5 of that draft. DeAndre Ayton, third option at this moment is your third option on a championship level team. You have Luca, generational.
Let's talk. Can we stop on Luka
Uh,
for a sec? Luka just hit 7 threes in the first quarter.
Actually,
Luka has 30, and they are halfway through the second quarter.
that's he's about to score 65.
Yes.
He's about to score 65. I promise.
He's
you.
shooting like 85%.
Oh my god.
New another. Sam is gonna be so happy about this. Jamar Chase named Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Deserved.
Thank God. No Mac Jones. No
No
Mac
Mac
Jones.
Jones.
No
No
Mac
Mac
Jones.
Jones.
No Mac Jones.
So glad.
Okay.
So glad.
That makes me so happy.
What were we talking about? Oh, that trade. Yeah, this trade, like, the Bucks get a bit a stretch big that replaces Brook Lopez basically. Pistons take a flyer at a young player with potential. Clippers add more wings. Kings are I don't know,
The Kings.
the King and the Kings. I think they're like, we're moving on from Marvin Bagley. We got Sabonis, so no need for Bagley anymore. What can we get for him? And it's not that bad. I think Dante DiVincenzo gives you, a scoring guard off the bench. Lyles and Jackson are 9, 10, 11th man rotation guys, so who knows?
Yeah. I'm gonna give this an A. You know what? I'll give this a B for the Kings. No, for the Pistons. Jeez, I'm sorry. They're all so bad. Except not the Bucks and the Clippers. I'll give this a B for the for the Pistons. Jesus Christ. And I'll give this like a C plus for the Bucks and the Clippers, and then like a C for the Kings. A lot of change happening.
Jacob, your grade?
So I'm not gonna like pretend that I fully understand this trade. You know, I see two second rounders for the Bucks. I like that they got some money. You know, you could always use a little bit more money. So I'm gonna go with the Bucks won this. No grades.
Alrighty.
Just pass fail. You know.
And right before Porzingis trade, Micah Parsons named Defensive Rookie of the Year. No surprise there.
Obviously.
Definitely deserved.
Sorry, before we go on to the Porzingis trade, I just think we need to address the most important trade made this trade deadline. Bol to the Magic. Cash considerations. This is a franchise-changing move.
Hey, the Magic, you know, Bol, Mo Bamba, just a bunch of mean big men.
Yeah.
Just the Cavs all over again.
Cavs big men are actually very, very nice guys.
I mean, they're very good though. That's the thing. Mobley and Allen are very, very good. Mo Bamba and Bol are just like
They're
the
just tall.
version of them guys.
Bol is just tall.
Hey, can we have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? No, we have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen at home.
That's funny.
Bol.
Yeah, so I guess the last trade's the Porzingis trade. Porzingis in a second for Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. I don't like the move for the Mavericks. Like, if you're gonna get off Porzingis, you say let's make salary cap space. That's kind of I think that's what you would have tried to lean towards doing. Davis Bertans is just a shorter Porzingis. And then Dinwiddie gives you another guard that just needs the ball in his hands. I'm confused by this deal. And then for the Wizards, I mean, it's like cool. You got the best player in the deal, but does it really make a difference? I don't know. You gotta pick. I'm just like I don't see the point of this deal for either team, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only reason you do this trade if you're the Mavericks is if stops Porzingis' knee is about to implode on the court tomorrow.
That's true.
Goes out there and his leg just falls off. There's no reason to take on that awful Bertans contract and Spencer Dinwiddie, who I actually like. He was part of that fun Nets team with like D'Angelo Russell a couple years ago, and Karis LeVert. Valiers Karis LeVert. Oh, I'll never get tired of saying. I don't know. Just a bad trade for both sides. Nothing to say. I'll give it a C for both teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna give both teams a C on this one.
I just don't think either team really needed to shake it up. I don't really get this for the Mavericks. Luka needs help, and trading away his help for just another guard is a little weird. Even though Porzingis is, you know, he has his ups and downs. I think he's more valuable to you than another guard. So I would give this like a C minus for the Mavericks, and then for the Wizards, I would give this like a B minus. I think just because they get the best player, and I think regardless of what you give up, you have to move up. The team that gets the best player in the deal moves up like half a letter grade.
Fair enough. And so I guess that means we'll move on to a bench warmers.
Yeah.
I got to think about mine for a second because I had like two that I was going for. So, anybody else want to take this over for a second?
Okay, so I got mine. I think it's pretty easy. Karis LeVert, welcome to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Coming off the bench.
For you, Jacob.
Coming off the bench last night. Played pretty well, you know. He couple shots he missed, but the promise that he shows, the way he played was exactly what we traded for. Karras did the things that we needed him to do, and the Cavs won. So I'm going to give mine to Karras LeVert.
2 Jacob W's in one episode? This is unheard of.
All right, bro.
Okay, so mine is Tony Snell. Hope we get to see him put up 100.
The dream.
For the Pelicans this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for 200, honestly. He's just built like that. Tony Snell, my bench warmer.
Man, this is pretty interesting. Not gonna lie. You know what? I can say this. My bench warmer is Darius Garland. You know why? Because he's going to be coming off the bench with the All-Star game on Team LeBron. Probably what we'll talk about a little bit more in the next podcast is the All-Star teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm saying Darius Garland because why not?
Oh, what an absolute W. Right. And instead of trivia this week, we're gonna do a little news segment, Tales from the Tile, where I tell you guys a couple of stories about some wonky NBA games. They're pretty old, so just get ready, because I'm pretty excited about these. So to start it off, we've got the 1-point quarter. That's right. So the 1-point quarter. Mighty George Mikan and the Lakers are facing off against the Fort Wayne Pistons on November 22nd, 1950. George Mikan was in his prime in the 1951 season. He was leading the league in score. He had led the league in scoring in 1949 and 1950. And in 1951, he would average 28.4, leading it again. So the Fort Wayne Pistons said that Mikan could have beaten them if he wasn't scoring. And because there was no shot clock at this point in time, they just stalled the ball. So, in the end, the Pistons won with a score of 19-18. Yes, you heard that right, 19-18. In the final quarter, they held the Lakers to 1 point. There was an NBA game where a team with the league's leading scorer scored 1 point.
That's absurd.
And so this is actually one of the games often cited as like why they introduced this shot clock. But even in defeat, George Mikan was the greatest scorer in NBA history. You heard that right. Listen to this. Listen to this stat. George Mikan scored 15 of his team's 18 points. That's 83% of all of the possible points scored by his team. Wilt put up 100 points. That's only 59% of his team's total points. When Kobe hit 81, just 66%. Scrubs compared to the greatest of all time, George Mikan.
The original GOAT, George Mikan. Yes.
Everybody loves George. And then here, do we want the one from 1951 or the one from 1972?
Let's go a little bit more modern. Say 1972.
All right. Actually, credit to the Reddit user Not Junior Bridgman. They've made a post with a couple of these. I'm just stealing their work, but not anymore because I just credited them. Anyway, quarter of intentional fouling invalidates a game. October 26th, 1972. ABA. In an early season ABA game, legendary coach Alex Hannum and the Denver Rockets faced the Dr. J's Virginia Squires. So there are no details to this game exactly, but Hannum probably wasn't happy with how physical the Squires are playing defense. And there were like no foul calls because that's just not how the NBA works back then. And so in the final quarter, he told his team to play the exact same type of defense as Virginia. Rockets committed 56 fouls in the fourth quarter.
Oh my gosh.
That's right, 56 fouls. 7 of their players fouled out, and the Squires shot 56 free throws. 1 week later, ABA League office forfeits the game on behalf of the Denver Rockets. The statistics are gone. Box score says The Squires win the score of, listen to this, 2-0. That is right.
It's funny.
2 points. Can you imagine if the NBA, you play the Lakers and the Nets play each other, and LeBron scores the only basket? I mean, that would be the greatest season of the NBA I've ever seen.
But yeah, that was pretty exciting. I liked this episode. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, this was a solid episode. And
This was
look,
good.
you might even get me doing the thumbnail art for this episode, viewers.
Oh.
So get ready for the greatest Photoshop or MS Paint job of all time.
Intriguing.
Probably MS Paint.
Yeah, but
This
please
is
leave
that
us a
good.
comment. Tell us if our setup was good. This was our first time doing it from different computer setup. So leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.
See y'all.
Bye bye.